Amazing news! You got a job at an office, agency, or you decided to freelance or do contract work. Okay, but school didn't get you ready for the real world. Now what? I had to find out how much school and university didn't teach me about working at an office and how to collaborate successfully with other people the hard way by being publicly berated at the workplace. No, kidding. I actually had really nice coworkers who helped me learn effective work skills, which then helped me to communicate better with clients, made me a better team player, solve problems better, and to continuously learn new things and better my work. Hello world, my name is Ivana and I am a designer. And this is Maya and she will be washing herself throughout the whole video. Right, Maya? But I haven't always been a designer. I actually worked in several different industries throughout the years, and you can see here in the cards my story on how I actually landed on being a designer at the end. I've worked in an office and I've worked with customers, and I had in one of the jobs, I had a really hard time actually being very effective and efficient in the workplace. So I wanted to share some of the insights I learned that they don't really teach you anywhere. I know, soft skills are learned better by doing and by years of experience, but in this fast-paced job market, you are expected to start off knowing all of this and being prepared for everything on the workplace from day one. They want to hire a ready-made employee. So I made this short list for you to show you some of the things that maybe you would like to work on. Some of these, as you can see, could be classified also under like good workplace etiquette. So you usually wouldn't know about them if you haven't like worked in an office or something. So let's start. First of all job postings lately require you to have amazing communication skills. So I want to talk about what that means and why it is required for you to have. So communication skills refer to the ability to convey information, ideas, and emotions effectively to others, while also understanding and interpreting the messages you receive. When we talk about communication for designers, that usually includes communicating clearly your ideas and vision to either clients or your coworkers, and communicating effectively with stakeholders and different cross-departmental maybe, so people who are not necessarily like designers. When communicating with clients, it is important for you to start speaking their language. They're usually not that design savvy, so be empathetic and do not use design heavy language that you would usually use in your like everyday communication with, let's say, other designers. Try to explain concepts and design decisions in simpler terms that they would understand. But in case you need to use some term like kerning, let's say, explain immediately after what that means. What are you trying to sell? Are you trying to sell a brand identity to a client? Well, explain clearly what this includes and why that will be the best solution to their problem. For example, your identity will include, instead of only one logo, you will have a logo suite of several logos for different sizes and different mediums, so that you can use them in the correct place. All of your packaging, for example, will look consistent with your social media presence and your web design. This is what visual identity means. Are you presenting a concept or a final design decision that you've made? Communicate your design decisions in a manner that will convince the client that this is the right choice for them, in case you believe it is the right choice for them, of course. When you lay out all of your points, why they would benefit from this and why they need to choose this in a confident and convincing way, then they will have no choice but to trust you. You are the designer after all. Throughout all of your communications with the client, try to communicate your ideas and concepts simply and clearly. If you have the time, try and prepare beforehand what you have to say so that you don't struggle for words when it's finally time to present. Communicating with other designers is relatively easy when it comes to speaking the same language. In this case, you will be able to present your work with the design details that make you excited. Oh, you fixed the kerning between the W and A? Wow. Such design, much skill. And don't get me wrong, this is not making fun of you. I understand completely how it feels. However, in this case, you must be able to listen and receive information from your peers. If the talk turns to critique or they suggest something that you could do better in your design, try to listen and take in that information. They have just seen your design now, while you've been staring at it for hours beforehand. Of course, you might have missed something. Don't be afraid of receiving that feedback. Now, in case you need to give critique or feedback to another designer, try to be constructive with it. Don't say outright, oh no, this will not work, or this is horrible. This does not help the other designer and they might not turn to you for feedback again. Have you tried it like this? Or would it work better if it is like that? Are good alternatives that will make the other person consider your suggestions and might agree that it is indeed better that way. Now, communicating with your manager or boss is difficult. Trust me. Sometimes you just don't have enough time to explain your problem, and many times they will not have the context of what you want to talk to them about. Have in mind that they're constantly working on other things and they do not really think about what your work is about. Like, they do not think about design necessarily. They would probably think about something else. So whenever you break their focus from the thing that they're doing currently to ask them about a design question or another question, whatever it is that you're working on, you will need to put them in the context of your work. In those cases, you need to explain very quickly what it is you're talking about or you're asking them about, and then present your problem. End it with a simple question that they might be able to answer simply or very quickly, so that they don't have to think too much about it. Try to boil down your problem to that one question that, once answered, will help you find the solution to your problem. Now, as I said, you'll also need to maybe communicate with other departments. Let's say developers, marketing, sales. It depends on the company, I suppose. This is similar to the boss problem. The other departments also have a lot of other things to think about. So when you start off a conversation with them, try to put them in the context of your problem. Let's say if you need to ask a developer about design concept that you have for a landing page or something, instead of asking simply, would this work? Try explaining what exactly you want to do and maybe a little bit more detail on what your problem is about, and then ask them, is this possible, or what would be a better solution to this problem? Again, try to boil down to like a smaller question that they can answer easily to. If they don't currently have the answer to that, then be patient until they get back to you. So I want to make it very clear that in any of the previous cases that we talked about for communicating with different people, it is very important to ask questions when something is unclear to you. For example, with the developers, if they talk to you in terms that you don't understand, please ask them what they mean and what all of this means, because miscommunication and misunderstanding can cause a lot of problems down the line. However, try to avoid, again, general questions like, could you just summarize this for me? Instead, try to summarize the conversation yourself in what you understood and ask, am I missing something? Or was this correct, like in general, so that they can just answer yes or no and add whatever it is that you have missed or you've misunderstood. It's also better to ask instead of just assuming that everything is clear. Ask if you have been understood as well. I really like this one video that I will link here in the cards from Joseph Tsar about how you can teach yourself how to speak more articulate, how to be more articulate when speaking. So I would advise you to just give it a watch. Okay, are you finally asleep? She's bored. Next is problem-solving skills. Problem-solving skills refer to the ability to identify challenges, analyze their root causes, and develop effective solutions. Design, in its core, is solving problems for customers. So you should be very good at this, or at least continuously work to get better at it. And while this is a very continuous process, probably for some of you, I do want to advise you on just several different things. Whenever you're working on design problems, I advise you to work on several different possible solutions first, ideate, iterate on them, and possibly exhaust all of the possible ideas and solutions you might have before asking for feedback from somebody else. Go to them with the possible solutions you've identified. Ask them if those are good or bad and what could possibly be done better. Especially if you're talking to someone higher up or your manager or a creative director, show the initiative. Show that you've thought and worked on the problem first before going to them and expect them to solve it for you. Another thing I want to talk about is when designers encounter different technical problems. Let's say an error message in Photoshop, or you don't know how to change some setting in Illustrator or whatever. Preferably look for the solution online first before going to somebody and asking them about it, because it could be just a Google search away for you to find the answer and just fix it quickly instead of bothering someone else to do that for you. Be empathetic to your coworkers and be mindful of their time. If you're searching for how to do something in a software, look for a tutorial on YouTube first or something. Try it out, like with the previous example, try out something first on your own before going to somebody. If you really cannot find the solution, or you really cannot do the something that you really want to do, but only after you've exhausted several options, go to somebody and ask for their help, or if they know the solution to the problem. But let them know you've tried the easy things first and they didn't work. Problem-solving skill is something that you will constantly be working on, but it's a very, very important skill to have, especially in design. Next is organization. Organizational skills refer to the ability to efficiently manage your tasks, time, resources, and information to achieve your goals effectively and meet deadlines. For designers, these skills are essential to keeping projects on track, especially when you work on several projects all at once. Now, in my opinion, it is incredibly important to be well organized, and I will tell you why. We usually work with deadlines, and if those deadlines are not met, and if you haven't planned or managed your time correctly, it could lead to losing clients, money, or deteriorating mental health. Second scenario is sometimes your older projects might come back to haunt you if you haven't organized them correctly. If, for example, a client comes back to you again in a year and wants an additional deliverable maybe for you to create, and you haven't organized either your files or your Photoshop layers correctly, you will definitely have a bad time. So, what I advise you to do is the following. First of all, organization of your work. To organize your work better means that other people will be able to work better with you. You will find it much easier to find all the necessary files for your client when requested. And also, your future you will be able to come back into a project or file with no problems at all. For all of this to be possible, you need to have systems in place. In case you work with other people, these systems should be communicated through your team, or maybe written down somewhere to be referenced when you either onboard like a new team member, or for you to check when you need that information through the work process. So what is included in organizing your work? First of all, it's folder organization and naming. I am speaking to all the Windows users here, since I haven't really worked on a Mac and I don't really know if there are any differences. But once you figure out the system, it should be possible on any like operating system you have. So naming your project folders correctly, or have a system for that, means that maybe you would want to name them by a client. In that case, your folders will be in alphabetical order for you to find. I advise this system in case you have multiple projects, maybe for one client. In this case, you will be able to find the client in the projects folders, and then inside you will be able to find any project that you have for that certain client. Another way is to maybe name your folders by date and project, if this is easier for you to find your work depending on the kind of project you have, I suppose. I prefer the date format year, month, date, because that way my folders will be arranged chronologically. This method could be useful when you're working on some campaigns maybe, or like seasonal promotions. In that case, you will be able to get to that season for that year quickly, because they will be in chronological order instead of client. Or this could be the subfolder structure to the client folder. So a client of, let's say, client is Gymshark, for example, and inside you might have a marketing campaign in January, marketing campaign in June, marketing campaign in December, or something like this. And then you can structure your subfolder to the client folder like that. In case you need to quickly get into a folder, a helpful folder maybe with some templates, I have a trick to either put a 0 underscore in front of it. That way it will go onto the top of the folder structure, or a Z underscore. That way it will go to the bottom of the folder structure, and you don't have to like scan through the folders to look for it. It will be either the top or the bottom of the folder structure, and you'll be able to quickly get into that folder. Feel free to research the subject more if you wish. Try out several things by naming to see what works for you, but it is important for you to have a system. It is a must in our digital life nowadays. I want to talk about file naming and organization. How you name your files is super important when you need to find the correct file quickly in your folder structure. Some projects can become huge due to either the scale of the project, or if you need to make a lot of iterations and variations on certain tasks. I suggest to include the client name in naming your files. Then make sure to name your files for their purpose, either a logo, poster, card, business card, whatever it is. Then make sure to name the file in the correct color mode that it is, either RGB or CMYK. Then I think it's important to add the size that the file is in, especially if it's in print. If it's a poster, card, flyer, it is very important to put the size that the artboard is in. And then, I don't know, any other information that might be useful to someone looking at your files and is looking for like a specific file. Again, this might be you in the future. And lastly, I want to talk about layer organization and naming. Correct layer organization and naming is a very good etiquette in the workplace when you work with other people. But again, that other person could be you in the future. If you work alone, name and organize your layers for yourself in like 2 months, when you might need to revisit your Photoshop file or your Illustrator file, so that you're not confused about what each layer does. Group your layers into groups, or color coding. It's very helpful. So figure out the system that works best for you and just follow it. If you work with other people, agree on a system to name and color code your layers so that everyone has a good time. I am linking a video here from Hansila, and she talks about her file naming and folder organization, and that might be helpful for some of you. Next in the organization category is project organization and management. Project management is a whole subject of its own, but it is possible for you to structure your process in a way to push the project successfully to its completion. There are a lot of softwares out there that could help you to better manage your projects. When you start from, let's say, Trello as a very easy to use software, we go through like Jira and Confluence, ClickUp, Asana, and we end up in Notion. You have a lot of apps to choose from. For example, I wrote the script for this video in Notion, and I organize my client process and my content creation ideas in there as well. A couple of things I want to mention in regards to organizing your project. Again, create a system that will be easy for you to follow. When you work for a client, you should have a process in place. Let's say you have a discovery call first, then you have a brand strategy call, then you start researching, and then you create the mood board, and then you start designing and all of that, etc. Each step of this process should be clear to you and to the client so that the project flows smoothly and there is no chaos. Second tip is take notes religiously. Take notes after meetings, take notes after researching, take notes during your brainstorming sessions, take notes after you receive any feedback. All of this information should be included in the software that you use to manage your project so that you can reference it at some point down the line when probably you need to remind your client or your coworkers what you've talked about, why you've made a certain decision, and based on what information you've made that decision. What strategy has been followed throughout the whole process. Since no one is meant to remember everything, please take notes. And third tip is to prioritize tasks correctly. Now, this is a difficult one to explain, but certain tasks will have a bigger importance than others. For example, tasks whose deadlines are coming soon have higher importance than tasks that could be done in the future at some point. You need to be able to distinguish which tasks to do first so that the project or even several projects can run smoothly and everything is finished in time. It is possible that you will need to prioritize a certain client before other clients, and that is totally normal. Last part of the organization category is time management. I'm laughing because I'm also working on this currently, and it's just been the hardest thing for me to do. Time management, again, has to do with meeting deadlines, but also be conscious of the time slots you allot to certain tasks and certain projects. For example, you cannot say that you will do a visual identity in a day if you cannot do that. You will only stress yourself out by promising something that you will not be able to complete in a certain time frame. You need to know how long certain tasks take so that you can better spread your work throughout the day, week, or month so that it is possible to complete it without you burning out. To become better at this, I advise you to first track your time, track the time a certain task takes, and that way you will be better prepared to talk to a client or your team lead or manager or someone who is asking you how long something will take. Let's say you have to design a social media image or a carousel for social media. You need to know, for example, how much time one social media maybe will take you, and then when you can deliver on the whole thing. This will include including time for feedback, including time for your brainstorming, including time for your research, and so on. So track your time for your tasks. It might be easier for you to time manage by using a calendar or another app to remind you of deadlines, meetings. When you put everything in like a calendar of some sort, that can free up also some mental space for your creative work. The last category of skills I want to talk about is a bit more general, and it includes several things that do not necessarily fall under any of the previous categories, but I wanted to talk about them anyway. First of all is seeking feedback. Feedback is super important for your growth as a designer, as a professional, as, I don't know, a human. And while it is absolutely necessary to ask for feedback on your designs if you're just starting out, it is also important to reflect on any other qualities you might want to develop if you need to work on them. Ask yourself if you could do something better next time, either with your time management or your project organization or your client communication. That way, every time will be better next time. Your work process will be better and maybe your mental health will be better. Second is learning from your mistakes. Do not get discouraged if you do something wrong. We all make mistakes. Apologize and try to not do the same thing again next time. I know it's easier said than done, but like I said, we all make mistakes and we just need to learn from them. Third is attention to detail. In this competitive world, being just slightly better with your attention to detail than somebody else could give you so many more opportunities. This could be attention to detail in your design work, but also how you pitch to your clients, your research process, your writing and punctuation even. I know it is so annoying when someone points out a typo that you've made. So take the time to read again and again and try to remove all the spelling errors or something that you might have, because it is very noticeable when we've made the effort. Fourth is adaptability. Being able to adapt to a new work process, new work environment, new client and their personality, or a new software can only help you in the longevity of your career. This will make you a better professional in the long run, and nothing will be able to scare you off, and you'll be able to problem solve better, I'm sure. And lastly, seek new information. Try to learn new software, learn new skills every day, if possible. If not, try to be mindful of what can you do to improve, to grow in the career or in real life. This will make you a better designer for sure. All right, I know this was a lot, and I know there is a lot more to talk about. So if you have any questions or you want to discuss something, please write a comment down below. Or if you want me to go into more detail in another video from any of these categories. Whew, that was a lot of talking, but I hope you got something out of all of this yapping. If you did, please share it with someone who might also benefit from hearing all of this. And if you want more videos like this one, or about, I don't know, graphic design stuff, then please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next video, where I want to talk a little bit more about the design process, how to solve problems during the design process, and how to make better design decisions. This is, I think, the next thing I want to talk about. So hope to see you there. Bye!